The black widow. The black widow is a venomous spider found mainly in North and South America. The female is much larger than the male, often growing to more than twice his size. When a male is ready to mate, he carefully approaches the female's web and sends a series of vibrations through the silk. These vibrations let the female know that he is a potential mate rather than prey. If she accepts him, the pair mates on the web. After mating, the female attacks and eats the male. The nutrients from the male can help support the development of the female's eggs, giving the next generation a better chance of survival. The black widow is one of the best-known examples of sexual cannibalism. The seahorse. The seahorse is a small marine fish found in shallow coastal waters around the world, especially among seagrass beds, coral reefs, and mangrove forests. Unlike most animals, the female does not carry the babies. After a courtship that can last for several days, the female transfers hundreds of eggs into a specialized brood pouch on the male's abdomen. Once the eggs are inside, the male fertilizes them and seals the pouch. Over the following weeks, he provides the developing embryos with oxygen, nutrients, and protection while they continue to grow. When the babies are fully developed, the male goes through repeated contractions that can last for several hours before releasing dozens or even hundreds of fully formed baby seahorses into the water. Soon after giving birth, the pair can begin the process again with a new batch of eggs. The anglerfish. The anglerfish is a deep-sea fish found in the dark waters of the Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, and Southern Oceans, usually at depths where sunlight never reaches. In many species, the female is much larger than the male, sometimes growing more than 10 times his size. Because food is scarce and potential mates are spread far apart, finding each other in the deep ocean is extremely difficult. When a male finally locates a female, he bites onto her body and remains attached. Over time, their skin and blood vessels fuse together, allowing the male to receive nutrients directly from the female. As the connection strengthens, the male gradually loses his eyes, fins, and most of his internal organs, leaving only the parts needed to produce sperm. The two remain permanently joined, allowing the female to reproduce whenever her eggs are ready to be fertilized. The praying mantis. The praying mantis is a predatory insect found in grasslands, forests, gardens, and tropical regions across much of the world. In most species, the female is noticeably larger and stronger than the male. When a male is ready to mate, he approaches the female slowly and cautiously to avoid being mistaken for prey. If the female accepts him, the pair begins mating. The female may suddenly attack and bite off the male's head during or shortly after mating. Even after losing his head, the male's body can continue the mating process because many of the movements are controlled by nerve centers located outside the brain. Once mating is complete, the female produces an egg case called an ootheca, which protects hundreds of developing eggs until they hatch into tiny praying mantises. The pufferfish. The pufferfish is a marine fish found in tropical and subtropical oceans around the world. Off the coast of Japan, one species of pufferfish has one of the most remarkable courtship displays in the animal kingdom. During the breeding season, the male spends several days using only his fins to carve a large, perfectly circular pattern into the sandy ocean floor. The design can measure nearly 2 meters across and is made up of carefully arranged ridges and valleys. Once the circle is complete, the male waits for a female to inspect his work. If she approves, she enters the center of the circle and lays her eggs. The male then fertilizes the eggs and remains nearby to guard them during the early stages of development. The emperor penguin. The emperor penguin is the largest species of penguin and is found only in Antarctica. It breeds during the harsh Antarctic winter, when temperatures can drop below -40 degrees Celsius. Unlike most birds, where the female incubates the eggs, the male takes on that responsibility. After the female lays a single egg, she carefully transfers it onto the male's feet. The male then covers the egg with a warm fold of skin called a brood pouch and becomes entirely responsible for protecting it. Once the transfer is complete, the female leaves for the open ocean to feed, while the male remains behind without eating for more than 2 months as he protects the egg. By the time the female returns, the egg has usually hatched. The female takes over caring for the chick, while the exhausted male makes the long journey to the ocean to feed for the first time since incubation began. The Satin Bowerbird. The Satin Bowerbird is a medium-sized songbird found mainly in the forests and woodlands of eastern Australia. During the breeding season, the male builds a structure called a bower to attract a female. He creates it from sticks arranged into two walls, forming a small passageway on the ground. He then decorates the area around it with objects that are mostly blue, including berries, flowers, feathers, shells, and even discarded human objects. When a female arrives, she enters the bower and carefully inspects his construction and decorations, while the male performs a courtship display in front of her. If she is interested, she may return several times before deciding whether to mate with him. After mating, the pair separate. The female builds her own nest, lays the eggs, and raises the chicks without help from the male. The Blue-Footed Booby. The blue-footed booby is a seabird found along the Pacific coast of the Americas, with large populations around the Galapagos Islands and the Gulf of California. During courtship, the male begins by slowly lifting his bright blue feet one at a time in an exaggerated high-stepping display. The female watches closely, and if she is interested, she begins joining him in a series of coordinated movements. The pair point their beaks toward the sky, spread their wings, and call to each other as the courtship continues. Their blue feet also play an important role in choosing a partner, because brighter coloration can signal better condition. Once the pair breed, their cooperation continues. The female lays the eggs, and both parents take turns incubating them and later work together to feed and care for their chicks. The albatross. The albatross is a large seabird found mainly across the Southern Ocean and the North Pacific, spending much of its life flying over the open sea. Unlike many animals that come together only to reproduce, male and female albatrosses can form pair bonds that last for decades. Before breeding, the pair performs an elaborate courtship dance made up of synchronized movements, bowing, spreading their wings, touching their bills, and calling to each other. Once bonded, the male and female can spend long periods apart while traveling across the ocean, before returning to the same breeding grounds and reuniting with each other. The female lays a single egg and both parents take turns incubating it while the other searches for food. After the chick hatches, they continue sharing the responsibility, taking turns traveling out to sea and returning with food until their chick is ready to survive on its own. The Argonaut. The Argonaut, also known as the paper nautilus, is a type of octopus found mainly in tropical and subtropical oceans around the world. The male and female are dramatically different in size, with the female growing many times larger than the tiny male. When it is time to reproduce, the male uses a specialized sperm-carrying arm called a hectocotylus. Instead of simply using the arm and taking it back, the male detaches it from his body and leaves it with the female. She can store the detached arm inside her body until she is ready to fertilize her eggs. The female then lays her eggs inside the thin, shell-like egg case she creates and carries with her while they develop. The male does not grow another reproductive arm and typically does not survive long after mating, while the female can continue reproducing and caring for additional batches of eggs.